Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about License to Kill. Now,
Yep.
Aaron, I want to talk to you about our own License to Kill here in West Virginia. If you want to be a hunter in this great state, you've got to go over to a place of business and purchase a hunting license.
Mm-hmm.
Same if you want to be a killer of fish. If you want to be a fisherman, an angler.
Well, you don't necessarily kill the fish.
No, only if you're hardcore.
Yeah.
I always do.
We just take them out, hit them with a rock, and walk off.
What I do is I take a wire and I put them in the front seat of the car, and then I act like we're going somewhere.
Wow. So you're a fish baiter, then killer. What a jerk.
So now, have you ever been hunting before, Aaron?
No.
You don't come from a family of hunters.
I do. Everyone on both sides of my family hunted all the time. Yeah.
But you never felt the urge to join them.
No. Me and Brent never hunted. And Roy did. I don't like fishing either.
Mm-hmm.
And Brent doesn't either. We were just that generation that didn't do that.
Well, I don't know if we can throw that down to the generational thing, because I know lots of people your age and lots of people my age that hunt and fish.
I didn't mean that as a blanket statement. I mean, my generation of our family, we just didn't hunt.
So
now, that's not even true. Me and Brett don't hunt. Everyone else does. How's that? I don't like guns, to be honest with you. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
I do like animals. I don't want to shoot them. There's that. Now, I don't have any problem with hunting. In fact, you got to have hunters around here. Otherwise, you got real problems.
Yeah.
But you got animals. You got deer everywhere. I mean, even with hunters, the hunters don't take nearly as many deer as they used to.
Mm-hmm.
And so the deer roam in packs sometimes, big herds of deer. I guess deer don't run in packs, do they, technically? But you know what I mean.
Just over the plains like wild buffalo.
Just packs, hunting stuff. But most of what gets hunted around here are either deer or fowl.
Squirrel, a popular
squirrels,
prey.
Yeah. And really, hunting a squirrel with a big gun,
Well, you don't hunt a squirrel with a big gun. You hunt a squirrel with a small gun.
Any gun. There's no gun small enough to... You're killing a squirrel. They're not that big.
Yeah.
Rabbits, but deer's the big thing. Rabbits and squirrels aren't going to run out in front of your car.
There's people hunt everything in West Virginia. We're a sportsman's paradise in this state. We've got your deer, of course, are the most popular thing. Squirrel, rabbit, wild turkey. People hunt wild turkey in the state.
My grandpa was a big fan of turkey. He'd go after the turkeys right around Thanksgiving too. As soon as it was open, he'd go.
People hunt bear in this state.
Crazy people.
Yeah, there's a bear season in the state. So
that costs you big money. That's not cheap to do that.
I've been hunting, I believe, once or twice in my life, and much like you, I'm not a big gun guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big killing things guy. But
you hate violence and blood. Too.
Yeah. And it's not. And again, it's not so much. Well, at some point, if you eat meat, you realize that something that it's been killed by somebody. But the thing of it is like whenever you go out and you shoot a deer or something, it's not like, voila, it's like you're done. No, that's when the fun begins. That's when you take out the hunting knife and you gut that sucker right there in the field. I'm not about to gut any sucker in any field. No way.
Well, they have places that will dress your deer, cut your deer.
Nobody I know that hunts services those
clearly
places.
Somebody does that because the services exist, but
right.
no hunter would say, "Yeah, I killed it, then I drug it over to this guy."
Right.
They go out there and they do the deed.
A big part of why I don't like hunting is because hunting season is not in the summer; it is in the fall or the winter, and so you have to wake up before dawn. Take your position out in some cold woods somewhere and just sit there and shiver. That's not an idea. That's not my idea of a good time.
I would hear my uncles talk about, my grandpa talk about going up on one of those elevated platforms, and
the
wait
stand,
for stuff.
the tree stand.
The tree stands, and those things are pretty elaborate sometimes.
Many
sometimes
people die in this state every year by falling out of them.
Falling out of these things, yeah. But can you? And they tell me it's like, well, I'm out there, I'm freezing. It's 6 a.m. I think to myself, you could go to any restaurant on earth and just get some meat. Is it really worth all this effort? The answer is no. It is a sport, and there are people that also use the bow. Bow hunting is a thing around here, which that's a little more sporting, I guess. I don't know. But hey, if it's your cup of tea, it's a necessary evil as far as I'm concerned. But I really, at this point, I don't know if hunting actually does much anyway.
Well, okay. Here's what hunting
does.
It's
very expensive.
When you pay for that hunting license, that goes into the park budget. That benefits lots of other things.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I don't know if it. The amount of deer, for example,
right? Is it
year,
controlling the population?
Matters.
I don't think there are enough hunters to make that happen.
Right.
Sure,
That's what I mean. Yeah. In terms of the money, you got to don't think you don't pay. And if you think about how expensive it is to hunt, you're buying the weapons, the clothes, the gas to get out there.
It's just like any other hobby. You can really go off the deep end for sure.
But I mean, I always wonder if hunting will dry up. Legal hunting. I'd say there's probably quite a bit of poaching that goes on in the state that you hear about.
It will never dry up in this state because it's too much revenue. I mean, it's a significant amount of revenue that comes in from hunting licenses, tag fees. Things like that.
But I mean, it's expensive, and that's the thing. We're not a wealthy bunch, so fishing is expensive too, and you're a lot of people just really get mad about the license. It is sort of baloney. But you're right. You have to stock lakes, and we don't have. I think we've got one natural lake in the whole state, and so everything has to be stocked. And of course, the woods don't have to be stocked, but they are maintained. You got to have the law out there. But not my bag.
Yeah.
I don't. If anybody else hunts, more power to them.
Yeah, I got no problems. I got no qualms with the hunters. So Aaron, it's been a busy week in the Amiga world, in both our site and beyond. But let's take a look at everythingamiga.com. What do we got this week, Aaron, over here?
We've got a real interesting article this week, Boatster. I actually read this article. It was from the Dunk, the good old Dunk. And the title of the article is, Why is my Amiga Killing Floppy Disks? I found this quite interesting. It just goes to show you that when you trace stuff out, you never know what kind of wacky end result there's going to be. And in this case, the Dunkster, Duncan Styles, was having trouble writing to disks. He couldn't figure out what was going on, and so he traced out the problem back to his Gary chip.
Now, what is it for somebody that's not an Amiga, aficionado? What is the Gary? What does the Gary chip do? Do you know?
Are you kidding me?
I was just curious.
I don't know all of its all the things it does, but one of the things it does is it has something to do with you reading and writing from your disk drive. The fact of the matter is, he had a issue with a pin on his Gary chip, and sure enough, that was causing him to ruin these disks that he wrote to him. And once he repaired it, lo and behold, the problem went away. Of course, his disks were ruined, but that's what you're going to do. Anyway, it's a neat article. Plus, it's handy if you ever have this happen. This reminds me of when I had the old 1200 boat and had a similar situation with the joysticks, and where I had a certain direction not working. I traced that back to a chip as well, and it was one that I've never seen a solution for, and I couldn't come up with one. So, and of course, this stuff's going to become more and more frequent as these machines get older. A
lot of people don't, you don't suspect that chips themselves will go bad. You expect capacitors, you expect power supplies, but chips are not something that immediately spring to mind. And unlike capacitors and power supplies, chips are not something you can just go out to the store and pick up.
Right. Especially. Now I'm looking here. Real Effie in the chat says that Gary he does bus control and floppy drive logic. So there you go.
So yeah, that's the main floppy chip.
Thank you, Real Effie. So anyway, good stuff if you ever come across this issue. It's got to be something that has happened more than once.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of neat. And we're going to need all the information we can get. Now, Will, that's something else I like about the on Amiga is like it's new, so I don't have to worry that kind of stuff.
You'll be 6 feet under before the Amiga fails. That's for sure.
Well, just to get this is a pertinent article. I'll tell you what. You talked about me, and you remember how I was afraid to touch the Vectrex, right? Because I was afraid the Vectrex would stop working. Well, the Vectrex, we touched it,
and
what happened? It stopped working. So I've got to fix the Vectrex, and so, but the Vectrex is such a rare, unusual item. Well, now everything's getting old, rare, and unusual. I'm afraid a lot of the stuff. It's not so bad with the consoles, but when it comes to stuff like these computers, man, these things are they're getting up there and they're getting rare, and it's hard to get these custom chips and stuff. I just saw an article this week. I'm sure you'll cover in the news about the 6860s being super rare. I mean, that's just another aspect of it. So, it's something to think about, and we're gonna need all the help we can get when this stuff starts going south.
Yeah. Let's shift over to our YouTube channel here. Oh, and thank you again, Duncan, for that write-up. We really appreciate it.
That was good stuff there, dude. So, a light week, Boat, I would say. I mentioned this earlier. If after the show last week, I did it was a miracle, because I said on the show there was no way I could do it, but I managed to do a stream of the Amiga, which I spoke about last week, the Amiga, which is the Amiga A500 header that with an FPGA on it. I streamed for about an hour, Boat, with good results. I was pleased.
Is that a tiny launcher you've got on there? Is that what that is?
Let me tell you something. I'm glad you mentioned that, Boat, actually, because I'd heard of the tiny launcher, you know what I mean? But I never fooled with it. I never gave a crap. Let me tell you something. Tiny launcher for the win, Boat. This thing is like,
looks like all of our favorite launchers. Simple, brain dead, and to the point.
You got that right. You got that. And here's the best part. If you hold up on your joystick for a couple seconds, at the top of the screen, you'll have 0 through Z. You just skip to the letter you want. Bam. It's it's fast.
I love it.
He's also added stuff to where it'll show like game art and stuff, which is great. And you can play MP3 in the background or whatever, or a mod file. That's all well and good. I just want to get my hiney to the game.
Oh, yeah.
But I did some demonstrations on stuff that I could alter with the chips, with the changing the chipset and stuff. This is actually one of the things here. If you're watching at home, it's the Blood Money. The music's screwed up if you play this in AGA. If you turn it back to the ECS, it works perfectly.
Funny how AGA screws everything up.
Oh, I knew it. Here we go. Anyway, so that was a good time, and I actually did another stream, which I haven't uploaded to YouTube, on Twitch. If you're into it, I did one yesterday. For a while. So if you're into wanting to see some Amiga games, just see me playing some Amiga games, there you go. And we'll be back tonight doing another live stream tonight. I don't know what I'm doing yet, but we'll find out. Let's have a look at ARG that we did live Sunday morning. This week, we did the Enterprise 64/128 computer, which I think me and you have both heard of this thing, but I never have toyed around with one. Have you?
No, never in my life.
We did a couple of real winners this week, Boat. My string of picking games based on the cool name and them being good, that's over now. Because I picked Devil's Lair.
Oh, at first, if you're watching at home, I was looking at this game. I was like, man, I've played this game before. This is a fun game, but that's not the game you picked.
No. That was a fun game. No, I didn't pick that. It's for suckers. I picked Devil's Lair. And Brent picked Jack's House of Cards.
Oh, it's Lauracell. Has Lauracell ever made anything good?
Yeah, Lauracell. Hey, listen.
They're that French outfit. Man, everything is just...
They did some good stuff on the Thompson. They do some stuff. They did Panzer Kickboxing, for example.
Yeah.
So there you go. Boy, that'll hush you. Anyway, so these games are both sort of like platformers, let's say in the style of Manic Miner, a.k.a.
I will say that this game looks pretty good. You know?
That's what I thought too. And then this is one of those games that like hates you and is going to kill you a lot. And it does. And Brent's game hates you too, by the way. It's very similar. It's like a basic version. So if you're into the Enterprise, hey, the Enterprise was an interesting system from the UK. It goes to show you, the Enterprise is the computer equivalent of like the Atari 7800.
Okay.
Right? And what I mean by that is I don't mean like they're graphically equivalent. I mean, what happens if you take hardware that looks like it's going to be pretty cool and then shelve it for 3 years and then release it and then see what happens?
Yeah.
Guess what? Not good.
Yeah.
Not a good move. But just because we are out of control last week, we sat down, I think it was just a few days ago. It was a Sunday we did it.
I think Saturday.
Anyway, we did an Ask the Amigos. This was a 1 hour and 36 minutes of straight talk. No BS. We answered the tough questions, Boat. There were no softballs in there. So if you want to hear me and Boat cover a wide array of topics, Ask the Amigos is up on YouTube right now. I enjoyed that, Bud. I always enjoyed those.
Yeah, I love Ask the Amigos. It's always a fun time. People always ask us interesting questions, which is
or just it's questions that try to irritate me, and both of which it works. Both you have been playing some NES here recently.
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Why don't you tell us about what you've uploaded to YouTube this week?
So this was the second NES stream that I did. Of course, this is all because I got the new EverDrive cart, and I'm also in the process of boxing up my NES black box collection in some protective plastic boxes. And so I've taken all the games off the shelf. I'm in the process of rebuying the carts because I sold the carts. I kept the boxes of the instruction manuals. And so I figured I'd play some NES games, box some games, and just have a good time. So we played Donkey Kong 3, Mega Man 2, Tecmo World Cup, which is the most interesting game of the bunch that we played. This is like a soccer role-playing game where you have very little direct control over your guy, and it's like text commands for pass and shoot and things like that.
That's one of the launch titles.
No. This is not one of the launch titles. This was later on. I actually thought this was a different game. And so we started playing. I was like, oh, this is not what I expected, but we kept playing it. It's very interesting. So check that out. Of course, you can't play NES without playing some Kung Fu. I got farther in Kung Fu than I'd ever gotten in my life before. I got all the way to the next to last board.
I've never seen those little guys before.
So I had a lot of fun playing Kung Fu, and we played Slalom. And we closed things out with a game, a chat request, Journey to Silius, which I believe was originally supposed to be a Terminator licensed game, and they lost the license, so it looks like Terminator, but it's not.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah.
A lot of good NES. I should mention we probably don't plug it enough that we also have a Twitch channel, and we do you'll recall YouTube put us in idiot prison a while back, and so we don't really stream here anymore. We do all our streaming on Twitch. So if you want to catch some extra content that you're not going to see on YouTube or you're going to hear on MP3, head over to Twitch. If you look up Amigos Retro Gaming, we're over there, and we stream probably, especially now, we're streaming a couple times a week, maybe more. When you say
definitely once a week because we're streaming on there right now.
Well, I mean, obviously, but I mean, aside from right now.
Yeah, all of our streaming is on, and I would say at least twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week, sometimes 4 times a week.
Yeah, it's crazy time.
Yeah. All right. Well, Aaron, you know what it's time for? Prepare yourself.
Amiga News.
God, what a monster.
So that is the kickoff for this week's Amiga News, Aaron. We're going to start with part 3 of Retro Man Cave's look at the Amiga 4000. This look comes, it's a 2-in-1. It's double your pleasure because Retro Man Cave also talks to the lusciously haired Dave Haney. How much would you love to have those flowing locks?
I want the mustache too, everything.
The whole package.
I like Haney. He, like I said, for some reason, he reminds me of just people I knew, or that he's my kind of guy. Mm-hmm. Just one of these grizzled, weird old nerd guys who's also fun to hang out and have a beer with you. Look at this guy. He's another. I love that. Yeah, but
give me more people wearing Commodore suspenders. That's what I want.
I listened to that interview and I watched this and it was quite interesting. I enjoyed it.
So after the interview, Neil goes on to fully repair and refurbish the Amiga 4000, replacing and repairing all of the pertinent parts. So make sure to check that out. Next up, Aaron, there is a new compilation. We used to talk about these things all the time. Seems like every week when we started the show.
Came out. Yeah, they've slowed down.
Yeah. This is a new compilation put out for the CD32 by, of course, Amiga J. Amiga J is the world's largest spokesman and sort of brand ambassador for the CD32.
Yeah.
In his world, the PlayStation and everything that came after was garbage. Gaming hit its peak and never returned after the release of the CD32. This is probably the one that is the most, he's done tons of great ones. Ones that I remember from the past, he's done several Amiga CD32 and Beer compilations, which are like 2-player simultaneous games, which are pretty cool. This one is only AGA games, which I actually think that this is a neat idea because a lot of times you want to see what the differences were in AGA and ECS OCS games. Looks like you've got AGA, there's a menu here at the top, you've got AGA enhanced games, but then you can just look and see what were only, AGA exclusive releases. So pretty neat, and I love this cover art too.
The Miami Vice theme.
Yeah.
But it seems like you would run screaming from this CD, but considering your well-known documented hatred of the game.
I just fire up each game and I just bury it, just constantly bury it.
That should be your stream next. You should get that CD and just bury everything on it. I'd love to see that.
Coming up next, Aaron, there is a editor for Sensible Golf available. This thing is currently under construction. I can tell this guy was using FSUAE. You can see that over there on the side. And he is actually creating an editor where you can program your own courses for Sensible Golf. I think this is cool.
They may make that thing not so crummy.
Yeah. So there's not much information about this. I looked for more, and all I could really find was this video. But I'm sure that as this comes more and more of a thing, Neil over at Indie Retro News will be plugging it, and we'll get some more info. But as it stands right now, looks pretty cool.
As I recall, Ravi sent us a copy. I think it's on my shelf here of Sensible Golf. Not a well-received game in its day.
No.
But hey, maybe this fella can turn that around, because the idea of making your own courses, at least you got something there. I like that.
Absolutely.
Good for that guy.
Yeah. Up next, Aaron. Speaking of Ravi, do you recall that Ravi and his buddies are in the process of making an Amiga laptop?
Oh, yes, I remember.
Now, I think that these are two laptop builds that are going on simultaneously. I think that they're both sort of doing different things. This is an Amiga 600 laptop installing the lithium-ion battery management system. Boy, does that not sound fun.
Now, didn't... Listen... When I have a slow day, nothing makes me happier than installing a battery system and something. Now, I do, as I recall, Rabbit did have the wooden box. They must be working in conjunction on this. I've got to say, that's your luggable right there. On the flip side, it's
got David Pleasance's autograph on it.
You gotta have it. You gotta have that. But I like that they're listen. I used to have a computer that was in a wooden box that Brent made. He was so proud of this thing. I don't know if you remember
did you put it beside the wooden control panel that the Chud had?
No.
Was it cut from the same tree?
So get this. I wish I had pictures of this. Brent made a wooden box for a computer, a PC, and a control panel that latched onto the top of the box. It was all made with the exact same kind of wood that's made of. And I used this thing for years, and I always wondered if it was going to blow up or burn. It never did. There is precedent to this, I guess is what I'm saying, local precedent to put your crap in a wooden box. I mean, heck, I've had a power supply in a cardboard box sitting here for years, so it can be done. So I like this. They're solving the problems now. They'll prutify it later.
Oh, yeah,
that's the way
right.
you do it.
That's right. I agree with you. Coming up next, Aaron, there is a CD32 Amiga 1200 adapter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know all about this. The same guy that sells and designed the Amiga.
This adapter will allow you to plug any accelerator for the A1200 into the CD32. Now, why would you want that?
What do you mean? Oh, are you getting to something, or are you asking me?
I'm asking you.
I don't think I would do that, but if you could do it, why not?
I just wonder, are there games for the CD32 that benefit from acceleration?
Well, okay, we got to take a step back to answer that question.
Okay.
The CD32 is an Amiga 1200.
Yes.
Okay, we've established that. With the little what's that thing called? The adapter thing you can get. I don't know. I can't remember the name of it. You plug it in, and you've got joystick port.
It's called the Keyraw.
No, not the Keyraw, you goof. I'm talking about the CD32 thing. You plug in the back.
It gives you it lets you plug in a joystick and
keyboard.
Or no, I have a keyboard and
right.
Yeah.
And like some other crap. Okay, so at that, and it's cheap. That thing's cheap. At that point, you got an Amiga 32 with a CD-ROM, right? Then, why not accelerate that sucker? You know what I mean?
Okay, so I guess. I can see what you're saying now. Once you've converted it totally into an A1200, then you can benefit from the acceleration. I'm just thinking about if you're playing CD32 games off the CD, are there games that would benefit from acceleration? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no.
I could be wrong here, Boat. But I was on Facebook this week, and someone's been posting videos of their CD32 playing these incredible videos and showing it. So I'm guessing some sucker, I don't want to say it was Ravi that was doing it, but I think it was. Speaking of Ravi, I think he's got a jacked up to the gills CD32 out there already. So someone can in chat that may have seen these things can give me the thumbs up or down on that. So it's someone's got this sucker and it's working. Edu is who sells these and the Amigas and a bunch of other crazy stuff. He reminds me a little bit of Brittany Paris. He's sort of this mad genius that lives and does this crazy. He's got all kinds of crazy gizmos if you look through his page over there. And this is not the first wacky adapter he's put out either. He's got tons of these wacky adapters. This thing's already out of stock, by the way. So if you're thinking about picking one up, you're boned. Yeah. And who knows when he's going to make another run. But these look pretty simple. But can you tell what these are going for? Does that say 48 euros?
48 euros, that's right. So that's not too pricey.
$55, something like that, $60.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there you go. Hey, if you want one, listen, if my CD32 wasn't jacked up, I'd probably get some of this crap. But, it's probably for the best, to be honest with you.
Aaron, there is a new game out for the Amiga 500. This game is called Blitzways. Okay. Now this game, I guess its development, and this comes to us from Indie Retro News. This game has its roots back in 1992. I think this is one of these games that was started by a guy back in the day. Life happened and got in the way, and now he's finally coming back around to finish it up. This game is the kind of game that I like. This is it's sort of like a mahjong type game, and not mahjong like the complicated card game played, or like tile game played by old ladies on cruises. This is the mahjong that you play on the computer where all you're doing is matching tiles. And I love it. I love a big stack of tiles. I love matching the color or matching the tiles that have the same, thing on them and doing the thing. So, yeah. I'm going to check this out. I'm going to be doing an Amiga stream later on this week on the 600, and I'm going to pop this ADF on here and give it a go.
Oh, yeah? These are not my bag.
You don't like these kind of
tiles? Nah, not interested.
Understand. All right. And finally, Aaron, we cannot let an Amiga news go by without talking about Amigathon 2020. Amigathon 2020 is coming dangerously close to one another. The bartender looks up from his one ads. And this is the biggest Amiga charity marathon put on in Hurricane, West Virginia every year.
Yeah, man.
Amigathon 2020, we are going to be starting at noon UTC. It's funny, I thought UTC was the same as like English time, British time, GMT, but it's not, because they do daylight savings time too. So they're on something called BST. BS is right?
Oh, see what you did there. What time is that for America? That's
America time is 8 a.m. We're going to start at 8 a.m. and we're going to do a couple hours, just you and me kicking back, playing some of our favorite games. Then Retro Man Cave is going to come on the scene, do a couple hours of streaming his favorite games, maybe talking about some different stuff that he's doing in the Amiga world. Then it's going to be time for our D-Paint and Mod competition. We've already got some entries in for that. 6 to 8, Aaron, Amiga Bills storming onto the screen, fresh off the set of Hamilton, where he was a camera operator. He's just coming right off the stage, going to sit right down.
Big time.
He might even be streaming from the Hamilton stage. You never know. Then we're going to do a couple hours of Amiga Live with everybody that wants to play with us. I'm sure we're going to play some Worms, do some other fun stuff. And from 10 to 11, Aaron, the Amiga Trivia Challenge.
Just like Ireland, Boat.
That's right.
You're gonna be emceeing this thing there.
I am going to be emceeing this thing.
I'll get in the background and show video that is missing a color. I'll just keep showing that over and over.
All right. And from midnight, 11 to midnight, we'll have the grand finale, the contents of which is still a secret.
Yeah.
So
oh, God, even I don't know.
So
looks good. What a lineup, Boat.
Here's the deal. We need more entries for the D-Paint competition and the mod competition. Listen, you do not have to be an artiste to enter these things. Just put something together. Send me an email, john@amigospodcast.com, with a PNG of your art. Or if you want to make a mod, record your mod on YouTube, like capture it, capture the tracker, send me that link, and we will have voting live on Amigathon. Through the power of Twitch, we can have live voting, and the trivia competition will work the same way. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you guys will come out and take part. Of course, this is all for charity. It's all for Children's Miracle Network hospitals. If you would like to donate, either beforehand or on the date of the event, you can go to amigathon.com. So far, we've already raised over $400. So thank you to all of you who have donated so far, and we hope to break a new record this year on Amigathon.
Yes, thanks everybody for pitching in, and we would love it if you could turn up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Bo, before we end the news, there's one other item I want to touch on here that I didn't see you have listed. 10 Mark, our good buddy Doug over at the 10-minute Amiga Retro Cast, did a full rundown and review on the Amiga.
I can't believe I missed that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I normally try and I normally see those pop up, but I didn't see this one.
It was a video where he installed the Amiga in a Checkmate case of all things.
The cheapest FPGA and the most expensive hunk of plastic.
I will say that wasn't lost on me, folks. But I actually talked to Doug quite a bit when he was in the process or was completing this video, and I get a few mentions in here, so I'm going to plug myself. But Doug goes in and it's funny, remember when I had mentioned on our Discord that I had trouble installing this in my Amiga 500 because I had no screw holes. Mm-hmm. He had the exact same problem when he
look at these games. Look at these games that are behind him. Doug, I'm sure he has thousands of Amiga games. What are the two games that he decides to put on his shelf back here? Black Dawn Rebirth.
Yeah. And
the new Zorro game.
Oh yeah, and I think it's that Battle Zone for the Atari.
No, that's a Big 20 Battle Zone.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But interesting choice of games to display. It's sort of like if I put up a picture of like the I don't know. Those are not great games.
That
Aaron.
One in the middle has an awesome cover.
It's got an awesome cover, but do you remember how much fun it wasn't?
I don't. So it must not have been that much fun, but the cover's awesome. But anyways, so Doug goes through. He gives a nice rundown. I'm in the process of putting a little thing together myself, but Doug sort of took care of a lot of the points I was going to make on the Amiga. It is interesting to see him install this. And like you said, it never occurred to me to have put this in a Checkmate case, because if you've got the dough to buy Checkmate, for God's sakes, go out and buy yourself a video toaster.
Fill up that real estate. Yeah, man.
Yeah. But it's funny to see this thing in there. It's like dropping a pebble in the ocean.
Look at that.
It's so small.
I tweaked some of the settings, but the corruption on Zool AGA remained. Yeah, your problem. Yeah.
And that is one of the games that it's funny. I talked to him about that extensively. I got one of his other games to work, Deflector. He couldn't get to work, but I got it working. A lot. Like I told Doug, you've got to remember when you fool with this thing that it's still an Amiga. And the Amiga has different chip sets. It has different kickstarts. It's got different memory issues. You know how it is, Boat. So it just makes it easier to swap between them. But it's still an Amiga. But he does a good job covering all this stuff. He talks about the fact that his came with the wrong resistors. That sort of thing.
That was the same thing that happened to you too, right?
Well, allegedly that's a problem. I'm not convinced that. I mean, I don't know what's going on with the resistors. I'll be honest with you. I changed mine out. That's not what the problem was with mine, as we talked about. But anyway, Doug does a good job. He plays some games, and one thing Doug does that I would never ever do, Boat, he looks at a bunch of productivity software and crap like that. So if you're into that,
Man, nothing says excitement like that screenshot right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, hey, that's how you set your. He's talking about how you set your different types of configurations right there. But some of the stuff he mentions in here, he goes back in and has a little entry that says that we figured out what was going on. So it's pretty informative if you're interested in the Amiga or just interested in FPGA Amigas. I thought he did a real good job. So I would highly recommend having a look at that as well.
Yeah. I like, I'm with you on the Amiga. Actually, I'm not really with you. If I went that route, I think I'd probably spend. You say the Amiga is about $200, right?
No, it was $125.
$125. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe I am with you then.
Also, I never see where he's at now.
Mhm.
I never go there. Like I told you, I never leave. Hold me closer, Tiny Launcher. I never leave Tiny Launcher.
I just wonder, $125. Of course, I wonder if they're still going to sell for that much longer, or they're going to do the vampire trick where they start out ultra cheap and then get ultra expensive.
Doug mentions that the first batch of these, which actually was the second batch, because our good buddy Rushi got involved in the first batch. So this is the second batch. I've been told, and Doug mentioned this, that the next batch of these and the price going forward will be $150,
right,
which is still not that
well,
bad.
I mean, you're starting to inch a little bit closer to Mr. territory. And the Mister does everything this does, but it does everything else. The only thing that it doesn't do is fit neatly into an Amiga 500 case. If you've got an Amiga case hanging around just like you did, no brainer. But for somebody like me that doesn't have that, I would probably lean more towards getting a Mister set up, and then you've got the ability to do everything right out of the box.
I will say, Edu sent back people that bought this a video that only we saw. And it was the Amiga running a core for the ZX Next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's releasing a very inexpensive RAM expansion that should allow these to do C64, Atari, ZX Spectrum, a bunch of other stuff.
Cool. I can't wait are you interested in that or not?
Oh yeah, I'm going to get it. Here's the thing. I mean, listen, the Mister's awesome. I mean, I have no doubt. Right, but here's the thing. Like you said, I had a special. If you don't have an Amiga that you could gut sitting around, I probably wouldn't. I mean, it's still a pretty good deal. I mean, you can't get an Amiga 1200 for $150,
no,
right?
Not at all.
And now I have not played with a Mister, so I don't know about the wackiness involved in it. But and Doug mentions this, and I talked about it too. Anytime you buy one of these boutique, super rare cards that some dude somewhere soldered down, just like this, or the Coco USB to keys, or anything else, any of these, or this is some guy making them, or the weird power supply converter we got from Poland, right?
Right.
Your mileage is going to vary, and the more complex they are, the more likely there is that there could be a problem. And then will you get support? Will this guy stand behind his product? Now, Edu does. I will give the guy credit. And I was able to fix the problem, and I apparently have been the only one that had the problem. All right, which is lucky. But you've got to be prepared to get screwed, and that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. And if you're not prepared to get screwed, don't buy it. Or if you don't think you have the technical jack to try to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know how much a Mister costs, and I know you have to get extra stuff for the Mister, just like RAM. And I've heard all this stuff. I've watched the videos and whatever. But listen, the House Amiga has never been more useful ever since we got this thing.
Right.
And so, as far as I'm concerned, just the ability to have this thing do something aside from sit on my shelf, it's gold.
I agree with you.
It's worth $125.
Yeah, man. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap up. And once again, Doug, I apologize for skipping your video. It just must have got by me this week. Thank you, Aaron, for pointing that out. Let's move on now, Aaron, to this week's Game of the Week. We're going to talk about Bond, James Bond, Licensed to Kill.
Licensed to Kill, Boat. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Boatster. You've told me once that you had never watched any James Bond film. Is this correct?
The last time that we talked, that was true. However, it has changed. When I was at my visiting my dad's side of the family in Louisville last time, we fired up Goldfinger and I watched Goldfinger.
Good. What'd you think of Goldfinger, Boot?
Well, James Bond rapes a girl in a barn.
Oh, you mean Pussy Galore?
Maybe.
Yeah, that was pussy.
Okay.
James Bond, that is sort of a controversial element.
Yes.
Well, I mean, listen, what can I say to this? That's a movie that's well regarded, and I love that movie, but that does happen. So there you go. Probably shouldn't have done that, Mr. Bond, in retrospect.
I will say that I definitely enjoyed all of the Fort Knox scenes because they were so ridiculous. Like, like Fort Knox, basically the gates of Fort Knox were open and everybody just drives on in.
Well, they did gas everyone at Fort Knox, to be fair.
I'll tell you this. Here's the way that I think about Bond.
Yeah.
There are things that I like about Bond. Like, I like all of the goofiness that is, like, I've seen scenes of James Bond riding down a snow-covered mountainside on the back of a cello.
Yeah.
I'm all for that. I love that. I like all the
Roger Moore Bond. That's the one
all the gadget stuff. Was that a Roger Moore Bond stuff? So
all Roger Moore. See, Bond, and we'll get into it because before we get into the game of this, I want to talk a little about the film and about Bond in general. Bond is funny, and I'm guessing you probably never read any of the books either.
No.
Fleming wrote Bond. He's not nearly as he's a pretty serious character.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch the old Sean Connery films, he's a pretty serious character. And you mentioned what happens in that barn. He's got a license to kill, but he's got licenses to do all sorts of nefarious
I guess
stuff,
so, yeah.
And so and you've got to remember. And now again, that happened, but you could say he was trying to gain information, and spies have done bad stuff throughout his. I don't know. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just saying that was the mindset of stuff. He would do anything it took to complete the mission.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got sort of hard-nosed Bond from back in the day. Then if you get in the Lazenby's film where Bond gets married, that really was an anomaly of a film. Because he was only in the one, and it's not real popular, and so that kind of gets left out. I mean, it's part of the canon, but it's not the fact that Bond got married in it was a huge mistake.
Yeah, that's no good.
I will say that had the most action-packed Blofeld of all time. It was Telly Savalas. He was skiing, he was jumping, he was whooping all kinds of honey. Then you enter the Roger Moore era. Now, Roger Moore is probably the least popular Bond, but I love Roger Moore. It's my favorite one because I like wacky Bond. I like gadget Bond.
And
I like that stuff.
I think, I'm not a big, I know that you love, all the Leslie Nielsen stuff, but to me, all the Naked Gun movies, which I saw them all, or not the Naked Gun, I'm sorry, the Naked Gun. To me, they're not funny because when everything's funny, nothing's funny. And when you have something like Bond where it's a serious character but he is kind of goofy, but it's not played for comedy all the way through, to me that's much more effective. And so
I love Leslie Nielsen, and I love the Naked Guns, and because I think he's the only funny guy in them, and so that's okay. Everyone else is serious, he's just an idiot. But Roger Moore is probably my favorite Bond because his movies are fun. Is he in the best films? No, he's in my favorite Bond film, but his quality of his movies is up and down. Then you've got the guy we're going to talk about today, Timothy Dalton. Timothy Dalton's Bond was sort of a throwback to a Sean Connery.
Oh.
He was the most pissed off, angry-looking Bond you ever saw. And I should mention, Roger Moore didn't like guns. And so he told the producers, so he's like, I'd like to do as little gun play and crap with guns and murder as I can. So that doesn't mean he's not, and trust me, he still does some bad stuff. But I mean, he tried to tone it down. Timothy Dalton, machine gun killing, he was a bad dude. He always looked mad. And when we talk about License to Kill, he was particularly mad in this one. I'll let y'all get back to it. Then
now, is Timothy Dalton? He's the one that is not very well liked among the Bond aficionados, right? Was he the one in Live and Let Die?
No,
Oh.
that was Roger Moore.
Okay.
Timothy Dalton only did 2 films, which were The Living Daylights and this movie.
Okay, but but the Bond fans in general don't look upon these 2 films as being of the best, right?
they're sort of, I would say probably both these movies lie somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
To be honest with you, because he was only in two. It's funny how, and I'll get into this more. I'll get into this more when we get to his actual film. But I will say, yeah, you're probably right. So then you had the guy that replaced him was Pierce Brosnan, who was Remington Steele back when I was a kid. We used to like that show. We knew this guy to be a great Bond. And the thing is, he was in a great movie. Goldeneye was a great film.
And there was a pretty big break in between the Dalton movies and the Brosnan movies, right?
There was, and the reason for that is there was a big lawsuit. I might as well talk about it now. Between this movie, which was License to Kill, and the next one, which was Goldeneye, the studio got into it with the production company, into a big lawsuit, and so there was a long layoff. I think it's like 4 years. And when they came back, they were like, "Okay, Dalton, let's get you ready for Goldeneye." He's like, "Yeah, I'm done with Bond. Screw that. I'm not doing it." And so he didn't do it. And so they were like, "Uh-oh, we got to get somebody else." And they ended up getting Pierce Brosnan. Now, Pierce Brosnan was being groomed for the position, so it wasn't like they panicked, but they got him. And then, and so Pierce Brosnan did his thing, and then the latest Bond, Daniel Craig, is another real hardcore throwback guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've noticed that. Because Brosnan was sort of like a little bit of Roger Moore combined with a little bit of Sean Connery. He was sort of wacky, but sort of serious. But now Daniel Craig, he's another hardcore dude, just kind of a hardcore bad dude to mess with,
Mm-hmm.
And so, unlike a Doctor Who, where you've got real radical differences, there's been a lot of really tough, super studly Bonds. Then you've got some kind of nuttier James Bonds and some that go to be so But there's not a whole lot of, there's not a ton of differences. I'd say Roger Moore is the biggest outlier. So when this movie came out, again, this was the second movie that Dalton did. I did not like, his first outing that much. But I was looking forward to this movie, and I really do like this movie because it's very similar to the way Bond was written in the books. He was a real hardcore bad dude, and so Dalton comes out. So the premise of License to Kill, which this game's based on, Bond helps the DEA take down this drug lord. Okay, this is pulled from the headlines,
Mm-hmm.
In the 80s. And so the drug lord gets revenge, escapes and gets revenge. And how does he get revenge? Well, Bond has this buddy in the FBI named Felix Leiter. Felix Leiter has been a white guy, a black guy, a crippled guy. He's been like 20 different types of guys. But in this case, he was a guy who was getting married, and the drug lords kidnapped him and his wife, basically did real bad things to his wife and killed her, and then fed him to a shark.
Oh my gosh!
Felix got partially eaten. Okay.
Really? How does one get partially eaten?
They got there when the shark had already started. That's how. So basically, he was the guy. He went fishing, except he used himself as the bait.
Ooh.
So Bond gets pissed off, and the British Secret Service doesn't want to get involved in this crap. This is an American issue, right? Bond's like, the heck with you, and just goes rogue. He turns in his License to Kill and just goes out in his own. So the whole movie is he's rogue. And so M has to send someone to go get him. They're like, listen, we can't have Bond out going crazy. In the meantime, Bond has infiltrated this drug business, and he's trying to. His ultimate goal is to kill the kingpin of the drug business and destroy his drug business. It's for vengeance for what he did to his buddy. It's a pretty gritty plot.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
And there's no screwing around. And the funny thing is, and this is what makes this movie different. Q, the guy that gives out the crazy weapons in all the Bond movies, I think his name was Llewellyn. Desmond Llewellyn, I think was his name. He actually, I think this is the only movie where he goes out in the field and helps Bond.
Really?
He actually goes to, which is great, and he loves it too. I've heard interviews with him, and it was great to see him out in the field, and it was fun. And also a great turn in this from Wayne Newton is in this.
Oh man,
he plays a TV preacher. The drug business, they've figured out how to mix, I think it's heroin in gasoline, and they use gas trucks to transport the drug back and forth, and then they can somehow pull it out of the gasoline. Sounds safe.
Yeah.
But something like that. Anyway, I thought it was a good film, but it was not your typical Bond film. I guess that's what I'm saying. Now, some notes about this before we get into the game that I just found sort of interesting. This movie, it made money. The budget was $32 million. It made $156 million worldwide, which sounds pretty good. This was released in June of '89. The funny thing is, in America, at the time, this was the least successful Bond movie of all times, adjusted for inflation. It did not get over. And I was always under the assumption that that's the reason that Dalton was gone, but I've read that it's not what it was. So I think America didn't like gritty Bond, especially if you've had all those years of Roger Moore. They weren't used to this Bond. And this guy was barely a Bond.
Maybe it has something to do with the fact, especially by '89, America was awash in sort of action movies. You had Stallone, you had Schwarzenegger, and Bond could have been, sort of like, here's something a little bit different, and when you give people more of the same, maybe that had something to do with it. Just a guess.
You very well could be right, Bode. And Bond movies are funny, and people get tired of Bond sometimes when they release too many. And sometimes people are in the mood for it. It's a strange series.
Yeah.
So Bond has been no stranger to video games over the years, and I believe it was me and you were talking, and it was you that challenged me to name any other good Bond.
You sent me a text last night, and I challenged you to mention any good Bond game except before GoldenEye, because obviously GoldenEye, and some people hate GoldenEye. I don't care. I don't care to know your opinion on GoldenEye. Yeah,
people hate that game. I thought it was beloved.
Well, it's people that grew up playing PC first person shooters and are like, oh man, the console people think the GoldenEye was the first one, but it's real. Whatever. I don't care. Before GoldenEye, are there any good Bond games?
Well, I can't think. That's what I was appalled. I was insulted by what you said, and then I couldn't think of any. That's what really insulted me more. I was like, Bode, you scumbag.
It's a property that seems like you should be able to make a good game of pretty easily. But
they did some remakes they did some games based on the films of Sean Connery. They were and they looked great. And I tried to play them, and they were okay, but I didn't get into them that much. So I'm not going to fight you, to be honest with you. Think about the great spy games. Like if you talk about something like Spy Hunter or something.
Spy Hunter.
Think
about Sly Spy.
Game.
Sly Spy is a competent game. They could have easily put a Bond license on that.
And that would have been fine.
They could have put a Bond license on that Will Wright game that we like so much.
Oh, yeah.
Covert Action or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But for whatever reason. So this thing hones in the view, License to Kill, based on the movie. Again, that was not not what I would call the most well-received film. It wasn't hated. It got pretty good critical acclaim, but it wasn't like a super well-received game or movie. So released in '89. This was published by Domark. Domark's had some wacky stuff over the years now, and the developer of this was Quixel, Quixel. The only other game they did on the Amiga was Cyberball, the old Atari robot football game.
Oh,
I tried to play that on the stream the other day. It didn't go too good. I had played this before. I never was a huge fan. I like Cyberball, but I like the ports are not that good, and this was not that good either. The artist on this was, or the coder, I should say, was Colin Boswell. He had, like I said, none of these guys did a ton. He did F-16, NAM, Trivial Pursuit. The graphics guy did the same ones, but he also did RBI 2. Did you know there was an RBI Baseball 2 for the Amiga, Bode?
I did. I knew that there's like an RBI Baseball 7, on various systems, but I didn't realize the Amiga got 2 RBI Baseballs. In fact, I didn't know the Amiga got 1 RBI baseball.
They didn't get 2. As far as I can tell, this is the only one. I don't think they got the first. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out because that's a solid game.
Now, Bo, who do you think did the music for this? The perennial guy. I think he was just on the show last week.
Is it Brimble?
Nope.
Is it oh geez. Give me a hint.
It's David Whittaker.
David Whittaker, yes.
Who's done everything. Alfred Chicken, Golden Axe, Lemmings 2, Menace, tons. The design of this game was from John Cavanaugh, who did Hard Driving 2, NAM 65 to 75, and Stun Runner, the Atari port of Stunrunner at the Amiga.
Okay.
Which I don't think I've tried that either.
I have tried that, and it's not too bad.
Is it? It runs on the OCS boat. So, and this got ported to all the machines you expect. I'm looking over this list. It's the usual suspects. There was a Timex port of this boat, which that's one thing that I found interesting. Excuse me, and a PC port. So this game really struck me as strange when it first came up. Excuse me. The game is split into different stages, and in the first stage, it's like an aerial combat sort of a thing. Well, it's not, but it looks like it is. I mean, when this came up, what were your first thoughts? I mean, because I'm guessing you're like me, you'd never played this and had no idea what to expect.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be sort of like a vertical shooter, something like Alcon or something like that. And it becomes very apparent from the beginning that is not the case, because you're in a helicopter, which means that you have helicopter controls, which means that as you press forward, just like in Shoplifter or whatever, in addition to going forward, you also lose altitude. Even though you can't see it visually on the screen, there's a gauge that shows your altitude, and that's important.
Side, yeah.
And it took me a while to figure that out.
Yeah, it's if you look at this first stage, and I can thankfully, Bode, I found it, because I mean it's hard to put this into context, so I found the docs for this. And the first stage, this takes place in the movie at the beginning of the movie where Bond and Felix Leiter are trying to bust the drug lord, and so they're trying to tail the Jeep. So that's what you're doing in this first scene. You're actually tailing a guy through, and some people are shooting at you. And so what you're doing is basically trying not to get shot, and the radar shows the guy you're tailing. And really, the first level, once I figured out what to do, it's pretty simple. You just don't do much of anything. I was under the impression this was like Chase HQ or something, where you had to stop the Jeep or whatever, but you just kind of follow it to the second scene. You know what I mean?
Right. The way that this stage ends is strange, because it doesn't really end. It's just like your helicopter flies off screen, and then all of a sudden you're a dude now. Right.
Yeah. So I will say, before we get to the second stage, it looks graphically pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the graphics were fine.
Yeah, it looks pretty good, but it is a goofy stage. And like I said, I got killed a million times after I understood what I was supposed to do. I wasn't even sure. So as you mentioned, the second stage, you're on foot. It's the same sort of overhead view, and you're using sort of sensible soccer style, like little guys on the screen, and you're running around your Bond, and you're just basically fighting your way up the screen. Now, this is not a Akari Warriors or something boat where you just go in like a madman. This is more strategic shooting, isn't it?
Well, I mean, in theory, it's supposed to be. Yeah, you've got to line up your shot. The problem is that you don't have full control over your reticle, so you can't aim in all directions. What you need is one of those Tron 128-way sticks to make this thing happen.
That's exactly what I was thinking. If you had like a heavy barrel or like one of those, because Tron has a spinner,
right?
But what you need is one of those joysticks that has like the rotational thing, like heavy barrel, and then that's exactly what I was thinking. Good call there. This level though, you just basically fight your way through the desert up to these guys, and you shoot barrels that'll explode, so you can blow them up and kill guys that are in the vicinity of them. It's no great shakes. It's kind of hard, isn't it, Boat?
I could not get past this level.
I got past it, but it's slow. It's funny, like Boat said, when you're aiming, there's a sort of a target that shows up in front of your gun that you sort of have to use to aim, and you're not going to get clear shots, and you can't. This is one level where you cannot run and gun. You do have to hide behind stuff. Yeah. And kind of pop out.
It's a cover-based thing, but the thing is, the cover gets in your way more often than not.
Yeah.
And it's just not well designed. The concept is neat, and I like the idea of it not being like a mindless Akari Warriors / Commando type experience, but the execution falls flat.
So this next part I couldn't get past. By the way, this stuff's pretty much all in the film, because at the beginning of the movie, Felix Leiter and Bond are trying to catch Sanchez, the drug villain. So in the third stage, you're being lowered out the bottom of a helicopter, and you're trying to attach basically like a grappling hook to a plane that's flying around. And so this stage, I could not figure this out, Boat. Now, the documentation here says that you well, it doesn't really give you anything. There's a little gauge on the screen. I don't know what it does. There's a timer because you've got a certain amount of time. If you can get past this stage, it's pretty cool.
Well,
then,
I fired up this game with cheats because I couldn't get past the second level.
Wow, I didn't even know about the cheats.
Oh,
okay.
yeah. And so what you do in this level is you basically just have to position your dude hanging off the back of the plane or hanging off the back of the helicopter onto the rear fin of the airplane, and then he will attach to it and let go of and then parachute down. It's a real weird thing.
That happens in the film, by the way. That's how they catch the drug guy.
Does he have the Union Jack parachute too?
I don't remember that. Because the Union Jack parachute was actually from I think it was View to a Kill where he broke that out. That was a Roger Moore. The first time I remember him doing that. But he has done that in the movies. But I thought that was a cool touch. So again, that's the attach a grappling hook to an airplane stage. Again, it looks good. The airplane, the helicopter look good. The overhead view of Bond looks pretty good, so I thought it was cool. Now, the rest of this stuff I had to watch. I couldn't get there. So at least you got to play it.
Right. So I can talk about this next stage. The next stage is the old Frogman stage. Yep. And what you're trying to do is basically get close enough to a duck plane to where you can fire another grappling hook onto that. Bond's all about grappling hooks and fastening himself to things.
Yeah.
And then the plane will take off. There are what looks like little bags of cocaine on the river that you can pick up, or on the ocean that you can pick up and get points.
Yeah.
When you land on top of another frogman, you can take his missile and then fire a missile. But the offensive, again, it's just a weird sort of thing. Like, you could tell that these people were deliberately not trying to make just like a run and gun game. They were trying to make things a little bit more sophisticated. So, but at the end of the day, you're just trying to attach the grappling hook to the back of the plane. However, I was unable to do this. I didn't know what I was supposed to be doing, and so I could not get past this stage. So the next stage, which I believe is the final stage, I will not be able to talk about.
Well, this stage, the Frogman stage, you call it, is the Bond interrupts a drug deal. That's in the docks here, and you destroying those drugs get you a bonus, and you could swim. If you swim underwater on this stage, you could avoid getting shot, but you have a limited amount of oxygen that you can save. So again, that sort of happened in the movie. So then you've got the bit where you harpoon a seaplane and in a high-speed chase. This shtick, I never got to play this, and you mentioned this. This whole water stuff, it looked tough. I never got that far. Now, the last stage in this is interesting. Again, this was the highlight of the film was this high-speed chase with semi-trucks. Actually, there were tanker trucks full of gasoline.
Duncan Stiles informs me that at some point one of these tanker trucks does a wheelie, which I would love to see.
Yeah. I will say this was one of a pretty intense scene. A lot of the Bond scenes and car chase scenes, so there's a little levity in there, played for last a little bit. Man, this scene's hardcore. I mean, there's suckers getting done proper.
What's the name of the movie where the semi-truck chases down people and kills them?
Oh, that's called The Duel. That's a great flick. Steven Spielberg did that. I love that movie. And it's one everyone should go out of their way to watch. I think they did a remake, but watch the original because it's great. So anyway, in the last bit of this, you kind of careen into a semi and take it over, and you're just running suckers off the road and just killing suckers. Now, and you have to go to the you have to go until you reach the final tanker that's got the bad guy in it, and you run them off the road. Now, in the movie, this bit in the movie is great because, of course, this is Bond. Bond runs Sanchez off the road, and so Sanchez is laying there. He's covered in gasoline. He's all mauled, right? And Bond walks up, and Felix because it's Felix Leiter at his wedding, he had given away like these engraved lighter to Bond, and Bond used it to set this sucker on fire.
Wow.
Blew the whole tanker up, killed him. It was awesome.
No mercy.
And he had a good line. I can't remember what his quip was, but this wasn't like a ha-ha quip. It was like a you suck quip, and he done him good and proper. So, but yeah, in the movie, you actually drive the semi-trucks. I didn't get to play this level either, but this actually looked pretty fun. I kind of wanted to play this. So, and again, one thing I could say about this game is all the levels look good, and this is one of the few games we've covered where the gauges and stuff actually are helpful. There's a radar on most of the levels. There's a gauge that gives you like in this case it's a speed gauge, but there's also gauges with the helicopter that give you your altitude and stuff. So they're actually they're not just eating screen space. They're there for a reason. So what do we think of this game? Well, it is. I mean, to me, a Bond game isn't what this is. I mean, they tied this in nicely to the film. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, vehicle combat and stuff. It's just weird to me. And any movie. This is my
Wait
problem.
Wait a minute. As the world's biggest fan of Carmageddon, you're saying the vehicular
No.
combat is foreign to you?
With Bond.
Oh.
I mean, a full game of that is odd. And then the stuff on foot. I don't like Bond. I like Bond doing spy crap. Like, it's one of my problems. I love GoldenEye. It's a great flick. But there's too much. I don't like movies where Bond's actually like a commando.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
spy. What are
Yeah.
you doing? Full frontal assault with a machine gun or a tank?
Right.
You know, I don't like that.
I hear you. I'm with you.
And so this game is just has a lot of scenes where he's doing Bondy stuff. Maybe I'm being too picky. I mean, as far as Bond games go, this ain't the worst I've played by any stretch. It controls okay. You know, I will say the title screen and the music is not great in my opinion.
No, and the number one worst thing about this game is every time you die, you see those BOND letters slide down and slide over. Like the first time you see that, it looks cool. The 8 millionth time you've seen it, it looks ultra lame and you hate it.
Yeah, I guess they're trying to make make it movie-like or whatever. Right. Like I said, I like the engine they used here. I'd like to have seen this engine used in something like a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Like a. It looks good. They put a lot of work into graphics, but I'm not going to dock it for being too hard. I mean, I'm not very good at it, but I got halfway decent after I played it for a while. When I first played this, I thought I was going to hate it. I was like, this sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say that I think it's okay. I mean, that's about where I can go with it. What about you?
I'm not going to say that this is okay. I'm going to call this below average.
Oh, okay.
I think that the graphics are great.
Yeah.
They're fine. I think that the concepts behind each level are fantastic. I think that it's clear, like you said, this was not some game that was on the back burner that they're like, hey, we got this Bond license. Can we slap Bond in here? No. These people watched the movie and they wanted to make something that reflected that.
Yeah.
This game falls short on execution. The level, the opening level, it's too hard. It's just too hard.
I think the opening level is too hard?
Yeah, I think it is. I think that you should not have to play as many times as you have to play it to be able to pass it. I think this game suffers from, I don't want to say it's brevity. I mean, there's only 4 stages, okay? So once you got good at this game, I'm sure you could complete it with no problem. But I feel like the mechanics in each level are just not good. I would have rather seen this on foot stage, something more spy-like. I mean, look at the way that the AI works. This is your typical crappy computer game where all the guys are standing still and their bullets magically, seek you out like heat-seeking missiles. That's lame and dumb.
This is probably the worst level, I'd say.
What would be better is if you had these guys just sort of hanging out and Bond had to stealthily, negotiate his way through this place. Yes. And if you trip, one of the enemies, then they start firing at you. But just having them fire at you like you're playing freaking Alcon or whatever, like that's no good. The third level where you are trying to grab on to the plane, it all is based on luck. You've got these clouds that are coming and you can't grab onto the plane if the cloud separates you from the plane. Again, it's a neat idea. It's a neat idea, but they just weren't sure how to do it right. And again, I'm not saying that I know the right way to do it right. All I know is that it feels wrong. It's a classic example of a game where all the things are in place except for the gameplay itself. And it's such a shame because there was a lot of thought put into this. Like you can tell. Yeah. You can tell.
I will say, we talked about Sly Spy, which Sly Spy is not the greatest game of all time, but it's much more Bondy than this is. Mm-hmm. Although it's another game where you kill wave after wave of people, which technically Bond is supposed to not kill anybody if he didn't have to.
Right?
He's a spy. But again, this was sort of the sign of the times in the films too. I mean, like I said, but all things considered, I don't like I agree with you. The play mechanics on the on foot levels are just goofy. They did put thought into it. It's better than if they just made it run around and shoot stuff, but not by much.
Mm-hmm.
I think also this movie is not the easiest movie to make a game off of, if you want the truth. This is not the kind of Bond film. I mean, Bond spent a lot of this movie undercover, and so you really couldn't use any. You got to think the half this game takes place in the first 15 minutes of the film, because that's when Bond's doing Bondy crap. He ends up being undercover for a good chunk of the movie. So there wasn't a lot of really good source material for this game.
You know what?
That's part of it too.
What else I think would have really helped? I know that all this stuff is in the docs, but even if you just throw up like a one frame drawing of and have just a little bit of text saying Bond does this, like a comic book style thing, at least that would give you some more context of what's going on, because the docs do a good job of explaining it. But I would have liked to have seen something in game that kind of guides me through the narrative, because again, these people did care about the narrative of the movie.
Assuming the docs in my hand are what came with the game, they don't do a good job of telling you what to do. It just says attach the grappling hook to the plane.
Oh, really?
No kidding.
I think the docs that I had more information.
It says Felix can't help you when the cloud's getting away, and I didn't know what that meant until you just said it. I was like,
or maybe not.
Sense.
Maybe I filled in all that stuff in my mind. I don't know.
So, but yeah, I mean, you could do worse. I mean, if you're a Bond fan, is this gonna like light your life on fire? No. If you're a fan of just like differing gameplay and that's sort of unique, you might get into it. The graphics are good, the sound's okay, and the presentation is pretty pleasant for the most part. So that's as well as I could go down that road. The reviews for this boat they're eerily similar to ours in a lot of ways. Lemon gives this a 5.95, which is sort of middle of the road boat. Amiga Format gave it a 71. AUI gave this a 51. Drop the hammer. CU Amiga gave it a 69. The One gave it 4 out of 5. Your Amiga gave it a 68. I think those are probably a smidge low. I would say this is a C- title probably. I mean, I think
I'd probably go with that. Yeah,
or maybe a C, just because it looks good and it plays okay. That's it's okay. I looked this up on the eBay. There were budget releases for this thing. You can get the budget releases, but fairly cheaply boxed in the UK, between under $30. You should be able to find one. If you want the original box with the poster and all the stuff that came with it, you're going to be looking over $50 for the most part, up into the early $60 range on this particular item boat. We get any Discord action boat on this one?
We did. Up first, Frodo NL. He writes, a bit of a mixed bag here. First, the bad stuff. The in-game sound is rather disappointing, as are some of the graphics. Especially in the second scene, all the characters look rather similar. The game is also way too short. There are also some positive things, though. The game is way more playable than most other Bond games I tried, and there is actually a scuba scene that is not your standard side-scroller. Most of the scenes are actually based on the movie, and there is quite a bit of variation in gameplay. When I compared it with versions on other systems, though, I got a surprise. I actually prefer playing the C64 version of this game. 6 out of 10. Let's see. Next is Jason Warrens. He writes, infuriating. 4 out of 10. Lord Soup writes, I prefer the CPC version, and the run and gun level is the best bit. Easy fun. So short of a 7, just for the fun run and gun level. And finally, Paul, aka Hermsky, writes a Herm Firm, 6.5 out of 10. Usually licensed titles like this disappoint due to high expectations succeeding their films or simply because the games are rushed. License to Kill is nothing special. It doesn't blow your socks off, it's difficult to play, and there's much better games out there. However, this is one of the better 007 games imitating scenes from the film. A variety of gameplay can be enjoyed as you go from air, land, and sea with so many vehicles to take control of, avoiding that repetitive feel as you level up. So yeah, good reviews from our Discord community this week.
It seems like we were almost in lockstep with every single person there.
Yeah.
It is a shame that a license like Bond, which, I mean, it should be ripe for all the finest games, it really has languished, and even the sequel to GoldenEye, I remember when it came out, it was not well received either, and that's probably the number one Bond game, and it was not well received.
Right.
So one would wonder, and I don't know, did they even make games off the last couple?
Oh yeah,
Quantum of Solace
they've all had games. It's just we never play them.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd like to play a good Bond game. For me, the Bond games are out there. They're just not named Bond or licensed for Bond, but they're there.
Yeah. Before we wrap things up this week, Aaron, we got a couple announcements from the Amigos community. We want to wish a happy birthday to two of our community members. It's Pixels at Dawn's birthday is tomorrow, Aaron.
Oh.
He was born on the 4th of July. He's what you call a Yankee Doodle dandy.
I see that. Beautiful. Happy birthday, man.
And a very happy birthday to Pixel Vixen over in Japan.
Very good. Happy birthday, Vicky.
Let's see. Last week, Aaron, we had a couple people guess the Patreon theme. This one I did live and in person, old school style. It was the Bubble Bobble theme.
Oh, man. Yeah, I recognize that one pretty quickly. And that song, I hear it in my sleep. And I turned, Mr. Cole did a stream the other day. I flip over, what's he playing? Bubble Bobble on the BBC. I was like, oh, my God, I can't get away from this game.
Can't get away. I want to congratulate Pixels at Dawn, Chris Folds, Gary, Heather, Hermsky, and Zorglub for getting that correct. And Aaron, if you know the name of this week's mystery Patreon song challenge, please send me an email, john@amigospodcast.com, and I will announce you as a winner. This week, Aaron, we've got the Patreon band. We got the Patreon band back together, Aaron.
Oh, man.
And so get ready, because here it comes.
Cello code marked by land, Olaf Hope, Hermsky, Jonas aka Simulant, Jeremy Jones, Ethan Little, Alien Breeder, Dave Velociraptor, Albert Boy, Joel Fuchs, Lane Dinson, Luke the Hudson, John Cook, Rich Drury, Roshi, Frodo, and Al Solin, Sizer, Pegmaze Jurgen, Mr. Cola, Daniel Williams, Bernard Lucas, Jerry Dennington, Zora Glove, Commodore Kid, Reflection, Simon Ledge, Captain Crispy, Kilobytes and Caffeine, 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, Gary Heather, Free Lunch Cake Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, Bernard Quinn, Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Matthew Larimore, Randy Craig, Sean Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, Lee Galland, Alan Kebab, Check, Rotate, Level, John Marshall, Matt Perron, Ricky Verosha, Creepy Dead Boy, Biggie CTZ, Stefan Sorga, Mortensen, Evan, Helen, Lindo, 75, Christopher Hessel, Ravi, Abbott, Krista, Chris Foltz, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, and Becky, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Styles, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nant, Adam Bradley, Jonas Willow, THT, Eric Nelson King, Tommy Humboldt-Stein, Daniel Bigston, Brutal Barracuda, Derek Coles, Jason Warnes, Pixels Down, and Kjolbjorn Bowman.
All right. So again,
Outstanding.
Well,
I enjoyed seeing the cave too.
Yeah, I want to thank the members of the Patreon band. You got Reflection, aka Real Reffy, on the guitar, hanging out in Edvin's man cave, who is also with us in the chat. And of course, you got
Just how I pictured it.
the one and only boss man, Paul Harrington, on the drums. So thank you guys. Patreon band, large and in charge once again.
Yeah, you guys keep topping yourselves. It's amazing. I can't believe it.
I also want to thank all the fine folks that subscribe to us on Twitch. If you subscribe on Twitch, you get all of the same benefits, including access to our Discord channel. So we want to thank Christian Russell, G. Vebke, Frodo NL, Mitsuyama, Old B. Sturgeon, Muggy7, Ant Jarvis, Chris Folds, Demodo Wylack, Macintosh Librarian, Rushi MSX, Googlebox, Hermsky, Tapes from the Crypt, and Still Adolescing. Thank you guys for subscribing to us on Twitch.
And I think we had a new we have a new buddy over on the Discord this week, don't we, Bo?
We do. So let's see. I think that is everything except for next week's game, Aaron. Next week, we are going to be playing, every so often, the Discord center, or the Amigos Game Selection Committee, centers on games that you and I choose. They let us pick a list, and they choose from that list.
Okay,
and,
I got to hear this.
You and I both put a bunch of games on there. So far, both the games that they've chosen have been...
were yours.
Yes.
And this week is going to be...
And no exception, Super Hang-On. Super Hang-On. Somehow awesome, yet again not chosen. I can't believe no one has chosen that great game.
You know, I streamed that game yesterday just to show people how great it was. None of my pick. No one likes my games, but I am the outcast.
So anyway, but you love Super Hang-On. Come on.
Yeah. I like the arcade version. You get to get on the bike and make a fool of yourself, fall off.
You can just mount your chair from behind and pretend. That's what I do when I play Super Hang-On.
That's my social life right there. You just summed it up, my friend.
All right. Well, I think that is everything. Don't forget, in 2 weeks, Amigathon. Set your calendars, set your alarms. July 18th. We got one more regular Amigos show. Then we're taking the next Friday off for Amigathon. We will have a great time, but we will see you.
It'll be a happening, Boat, that's for sure. Tonight, tune in for my patented Friday night stream of something.
That's right. What time are you going to start that up about, Aaron?
I'd say probably about the usual time, about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time, for all you late people that stay up late over in Europe, and for the rest of us Americans. That's as quick as I can get it on, Boat.
Awesome. I love it. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Until then,
adios.